Welcome to Blues Plus, your matchday home, bringing you all of the build-up to the remaining games of this promotion-winning season. This evening sees us travel to Stevenage, and with only 4 games to play, the message from Chris Davies is clear. There will be no let-up in the chase for another 3 points. That would see us break the 100-point mark for the season in what could yet still prove to be a record-breaking campaign for Blues. With kick-off less than 45 minutes away, it's Stevenage versus Blues, and all of the build-up is right here on Blues Plus. Well, good evening and welcome along inside our studio here at Epic. A reminder, of course, that the next 45 minutes can be seen by all Blues fans via YouTube, Facebook or X, as well as via the club website as well for those that have purchased the required subscriptions. This evening's match itself is available to watch right here on Blues Plus in selected overseas territories, and all of the information that you need can be seen right there at the bottom of your screen on the club website, bcfc.com. Right, well, it's time to introduce this evening's guests in a truncated build-up, 7:45 kickoff at the Lamex Stadium for Stevenage versus the Blues. Our first guest is a veteran, a former Blues striker who amassed a career total of 738 appearances, scoring 208 goals. 15 of those came in a Blues shirt across 38 appearances. The other is a current Blues player in his debut season for Birmingham. He scored 3 goals in making over 20 appearances. It's a warm welcome along to the Blues Plus studio to Tommy Mooney and Scott Wright.
Thanks for having me.
Good evening.
Great to have you both along. First of all, it's been a short while since we were last watching the Blues in action. Just 3 days, in fact. Bank holiday Monday, Tommy. Burton Albion were the opponents on that occasion. 2-1 win, 3 points. But just what can the gaffer do in terms of trying to prepare the side to go again tonight?
Yeah, I think it's all about recovery. I think he's been very fortunate, Chris Davies, that he's been able to rotate the squad. Certainly give a few players a rest, but we're now facing the 3rd game in 9 days. But we know what it's like. Christmas and Easter is a busy schedule.
It is an important schedule as well, and Blues very much on the hunt to break a few more records. One man who I know would desperately love to be out there with his teammates, Scott. We're great to have you here in the studio with us, first of all. Obviously gutted that you're not out there. Everybody knows you picked up a fairly serious-looking knee injury. What is the latest?
Yeah, had an operation 7 weeks ago now. Thankfully went really well, so now it's the sake of just kind of getting my head down and work as hard as I can in the rehab and get back as soon as possible.
What does that look like, though, when we look at the rehab time, the effort that you're going to put in? Is there a time scale that's even been put on a possible return yet?
The time scale hasn't really been put on it yet. It's kind of just take it as we go and, as I say, work as hard as possible. There's obviously a rough idea on time in-house, and we'll aim for that. And as I say, I'll work as hard as possible to try and get back helping the boys.
Well, we certainly hope you'll be back out on that pitch sooner rather than later. It goes without saying, with the injury, a season of highs and lows. When you look at some of the highs, I imagine 2 goals against Shrewsbury in the Football League trophy would be amongst them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was important for me.
We can see them here now.
To try and, come into the team, show the fans and show my teammates kind of what I can do to help. And at this point, I felt like I was really starting to settle into the team. Obviously, unfortunately, after this, I picked up a little calf injury, and as I say, it's been kind of stop-start for me. I had the calf injury, got back fit, started to get a bit of momentum, and unfortunately I picked up the knee injury now. But as I say, for me just now, it's the sake of trying to be the best teammate I can off the pitch, help the boys and support them that way, and work hard as possible to get back.
How have you found it playing in front of our Blues fans? Because, there's one game that comes to mind. Was it back in August against Wigan, the late show? And I think, well, here we go. This is the goal. And the fans went absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, as I say, for me to come in, this was my first game. I couldn't have dreamt it any better, to be honest. Signing on deadline day comes with obviously all its problems in terms of rushing about and getting down in time. But as I say, it couldn't have started any better for me. And it's moments like that I'll look throughout my rehab to try and get back as soon as possible and have more moments like that.
Well, listen, we certainly hope to see you back out there on the pitch and enjoying many more moments like that. Without further ado, let's turn our attention to tonight's game then. and the formation as we expect it to be for Blues starting 11 for this trip to Stevenage here this evening. This is how we think they will line up. And Scott, you'll be in the best position to say, is that the right formation, first of all?
Yeah, I think obviously with the kind of personnel we've got within the team, I think you've seen it throughout the whole season, it's quite a loose structure team. This will probably what it'll be more like off the ball. Once we've got the ball, we'll probably go into a different shape.
Becomes more fluid.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you've seen that throughout the course of the season. So, yeah, I mean, this will probably be what we look like off the ball, but throughout the course of the season, I think you can see the kind of shapes and patterns we've been trying to get into. And I think it'll be probably more the same tonight.
Tommy, 6 changes to the starting 11 that took to the field on Bank Holiday Monday in the 2-1 win over Burton Albion. No real surprise, though, I guess.
No, I think he's changed one component of each unit for both of these games, including Monday's game. So I think it just shows you the success of the recruitment department in the summer to be able to have the strength and depth in the squad there, and yeah, we expect it to line up like that. But we've seen it so many times, and you know, I've done the commentary for games this season where exactly as Scott says, as soon as you lose possession of the ball, that's the shape. But out of possession, it's very fluid. You know, the striker can go on with the wide areas, and one of the midfielders will get in the box. I don't envisage that being any different this evening.
Some of the keen observers might have noticed an unfamiliar name to the starting 11. Left back. I'm told by Scott that we're calling him MJ.
Yeah.
Do you know how to pronounce his full name?
I wouldn't want to give it a go in case I got it wrong, no.
So MJ makes his first start for the Blues this evening. Let's start the build-up, though, by looking back to that Bank Holiday Monday win over Burton Albion.
Yeah, very rigid, very structured, very organised. Burton and Blues having to work overtime to pierce through it, but they've done so through Leonard, who takes the effort on from distance. It was straight down the throat of Copen. Again, you had Burrell in and around it. Larson looking for a crossfield ball from the right-hand side. The header down from Sanford, and he finds Dodgson. Again will fizz the ball across left-footed. He's on loan from Scott Parker's high-flying Burnley. As Burrell again found. One-on-one with Hanley. Clara recovering now. Burrell tame with the effort, just scuffed his effort as he looked to take it early before Christoph Kara could recover. Travelling Blues supporters. Right-footed ball into the penalty area. Clara is in there. It's allowed to bounce before Godwin Malik put his boot through it. Only half cleared, helped back into the danger area by Gardner Hickman. Dow with an effort, that was scuffed. It'll come up for Samsted! And Alphonse Samsted's effort from the edge of the penalty area deflects into the top right-hand corner, and Alphonse Samsted fires in his first goal for Blues. The top right-hand corner might have taken a deflection on its way through, but the Blues number 23 won't care. And Blues have the breakthrough on the stroke of half-time, and now we're looking to better our advantage heading into the break as Gardner Hickman scampering away down the left-hand side. Rolls the ball in field to Willemsen, who will leave it for Dow, and Dow will touch through for Jay Stansfield in the penalty area, and we do double our lead before half-time. And Jay Stansfield keeps his cool to fire under Crockham from close range on the left-hand side. Stansfield, the single man on the wall. It will be the left foot of Dodgson to whip towards the back post. Sweeney peels away, and his header was on target, but his header was tame. A bit of a mismatch between Sweeney and May. Little versus large, and it's Sweeney who can nod the ball down to Lofthouse. Lofthouse looks over the top towards Tavares, who brings it down and fires into the bottom corner.
And so a 2-game goal drought ended on Bank Holiday Monday with a brace on the stroke of half-time, wrapping up at the points for Blues. It was also a game that saw a first start for veteran defender Grant Hanley following his January transfer window signing. Let's get some post-match reaction now.
Brent, thanks very much for joining us post-game. Your first start for the club and 3 points to go along with it. What did you make of that one?
No, obviously, most importantly, 3 points. We knew coming in it was going to be a test. Playing against a team that's fighting for their lives. They're always got to be motivated, and that's how the game played out. I think first half we had long periods of control of the game, with them being threatening at times. But second half it was a bit slower. I think we probably could have tried to create a bit more. Obviously disappointing losing the goal towards the end, but most importantly getting the result.
Personally as well, you've had to be really patient for your first start here, but can you be really pleased with how you performed out there?
No, I think so. I I think only my second league start this season, first since I've been here, so a bit of a strange situation. Not played an awful lot of football. Felt probably a bit rusty at times. First 15 minutes were a bit of a blow, but once I got into it, I felt got into the swing of it and time and position and things like that. So reasonably happy with how I performed, but overall I think if I can add a bit of value and a bit of experience to the squad, or when I'm on the pitch, and more importantly, the win was the result we're looking for.
Grant Hanley talking to us on Blues Plus following his first start for Blues in the Bank Holiday Monday win at Burton. Scott, he seems a very level-headed character.
Yeah, he is. I think obviously everybody knew what a great signing he'd be when we managed to get him in January. And although he touched on it there, he's probably not had as many minutes as he would like. I think the minutes he's played, he's been fantastic. He's came on in the last 5, 10, 15 minutes of games to see them out, and I don't think that can be overlooked how important that is. I think it's a testament to him as a professional, how well he's kept himself in shape for this time. Obviously, he went away with Scotland, played those games and was fantastic, and then he's came in there. And as you can see through these clips, he was so calm and level-headed as if he's been playing all season. And I say that's just a testament to him and how good a pro he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Vastly experienced Scottish international. Tommy, just how much of a bonus is it to be able to have a player like this waiting in the wings in the squad, and effectively it's just plug and play?
No, absolutely. I think, there's very few people in this team that have had promotions, and Grant had 3 up into the Premier League prior to this, so this is his 4th promotion of his career. He's had a fantastic time, but at 33 he's still young enough to come in and play, and that shows you how he looks after himself. Like Scott said, it's about how you train and prepare, but also how you rest. And I think it's a great move for him coming to a football club like this at this stage of his career. Obviously, vastly experienced at international level as well. So good in the dressing room, and that's what you need when things are a little bit tough. And at times this season there has been tough periods where the football club's under pressure, and players like that are the ones that get you through it.
What is he like in the dressing room, Scott? Is he a character who you notice, or does he go about his business in a quiet fashion, but when he speaks, you're aware of it?
Yeah, exactly that. He goes about it in quite a quiet fashion, but once you speak, he listens. Everyone listens, sorry. And yeah, what you see is what you get. He's very level-headed, and as you touched on it there, it's so important to have somebody like him in the changing room. It's fantastic for not just the young players to have, just for everyone in general.
And if you're a manager, he's the ideal person to have. Let's hear some post-game reaction now from the manager, Chris Davies.
Well, Gaffer, 2 goals in 3 first-half minutes has decided the game here in Burton. Can you give us your assessment on what you saw?
I thought we were very good throughout the game. We controlled it. We didn't create, loads of chances, but I think Burton Albion was sort of just sitting off us really, and we really had to take the initiative, get the ball and try and eliminate some of their players and get it forward. And it wasn't easy because they were in that sort of block. But the goals came at a good time. Good confidence there. And we had some good moves in the first half, work into the final third, crosses in, half chances around the box. But to score set-piece goal and then the second goal was a great team goal. That puts us in a strong position, and just wanted the place to push on from there. Second half we were similar level of control, but wanted a little bit more in terms of sort of chance creation. But again, you're 2-0 up, they're not really coming after you, so controlling the match is important, which we did.
There is, of course, this record points haul that is in our sights. Is it something that you've mentioned to players openly? Is it something you have an appetite for? Where do you stand on it?
Yeah, I mean, we're aware of it. I've made the players aware of it a few weeks ago. It's there, it's something to aim for. Why not? To be champions and to get to, hopefully we can get to the 100-point mark is incredible. Not many teams have ever done that, but we want to go for whatever we can, because in 2.5 weeks' time, that's it. The season's done then, so we might as well go for what we can.
There's the manager, Chris Davies, with his thoughts here on Blues Plus following Monday's win. He's still got very much in his sights that record points haul, hasn't he? 106 points is the total Reading amassed, I think, in the 2005-06 season on the way to promotion. Both Blues and Chris Davies would love to overhaul that, Tommy.
It's such a rare position to be in, to be promoted so early and then still have something to fight for at the end of the season. And certainly those records by Wolves and Reading can be beaten with a couple more wins, and that gives the manager and the players something to strive for and keeps them honest on the training ground. Yes, there's been a Wembley appearance and promotion is already attained, but having those points totals so close, I think that's what keeps everybody going.
Now, Scott, there's only us here. No one else is listening. And I know all season long, players turn around in interviews and they say, we don't listen to the outside noise. We only look as far ahead as the next game. You can tell us here on Blues Plus now, nobody's spoken about a record points total, have they?
I don't want to give you an exclusive, no. I think the manager obviously has spoke about it there, and he spoke about it all season. He's been fantastic in terms of, quietening that outside noise for us, and just making sure that we focus on the next game. That he's a big believer in the next game for us is the most important one. And obviously with such a congested fixture schedule here, that you have got to focus on the next one, whether that the last game we win and you can build momentum from that, but if you lose, it's sick of dust yourself down, shake yourself off and get ready for the next one.
How pleased is he that the next one has come along? Because the next one tonight means he can get back in the dugout. He's just finished a 2-match touchline ban. We've seen him up there in the TV gantry over the course of the last couple of games. Is he a good watcher, or is that frustration that builds up in him?
I think probably sometimes you can see he would want to run on the pitch and almost play as well. But I think that's just because he's a perfectionist. He wants everything to be done right, and as you said, it keeps us honest on the training pitch as well as on the pitch. And come a Saturday, we work so hard on the patterns and the shapes that we want to get in on the training pitch, and when it comes to the weekend or game time, it's the sake of going out there and trying to enjoy it and see those shapes and patterns come to fruition. I
imagine both of you at one time or another in your careers have experienced occasions when the manager hasn't been in the dugout. How significant is it when you're playing, if at all?
Well, I think we look at the team sheet earlier on. I think his name on the team sheet is one of the most important ones because he's so enthusiastic and energetic in the touchline. I sit behind him many games this season, and you can see him screaming at the players and running around. I often say I think he does 12k in that technical area because he really does kick every ball, and I love that energy, the energy that he brings. And then when there's an opportunity, he gets everybody in and discusses those patterns. And many times this season we've seen that come to fruition. The second goal at Burton at the weekend is a prime example of it. The movement and the style of weight of pass. That you can't just turn up and do that. That has to be done here at the Epic training facility to learn those movements. And for me, as a former player and a former coach, those are why you work so hard on the training pitch. And
he admitted, didn't he, after the game as well, that one of the most pleasing aspects of that win over Burton Albion was the fact that they approached it with a low block. They were difficult to break down, but the lads on the pitch stuck to what they'd been practicing on the training ground. They stuck to the formation, their beliefs, and it bore dividends. That, I imagine, was hugely significant in the dressing room.
Listen, it's really hard sometimes trying to play against, say, 2 blocks of 5 against a low block, and it is difficult. You can have all the ball and you need to make most of the opportunities, whether you get some or not, and you can break down that block. The thing you need to do is just try and stay patient and just kind of keep chipping away, keep going with the movements. And then I think that's why you've seen over the course of this season we've scored so many goals late on in the kind of 75 to 90 minute mark, because you've kept going with the patterns, you've kept going with the shape, you've wore the team down. You've touched on it as well in terms of the players you can bring on, the freshness, and you just keep going, you keep going, and then once you get the chance at the end, you get it, and obviously you need to be in the position to take it.
Absolutely, and scoring late goals, finding ways to win games late on is what winners do, and that's certainly been a trademark of Blues football this season. OK, we mentioned the 100-point total. It's within our grasp tonight. Let's take a look at the league table as things stand going into tonight's game at the Lamex Stadium against Stevenage. And there we see Blues on top, the title sewn up at 99 points. So close, Scott.
Yeah, it's, as you say, it's within touching distance. But the most important thing, as I've touched on there, is the most important game's the next one. And it's about getting 3 points tonight. The boys have got that carrot dangled of that points record. But the most important thing is getting the 3 points tonight and then getting momentum going into the next game.
Here are the final 4 fixtures of the campaign. Starting tonight with a game at Stevenage. Then we've got Mansfield Town before going to Blackpool and finishing on the final day of the season at Cambridge United. 12 points on offer, Tommy. We only need 7 to tie, 8 to overhaul Reading's total. Can we do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And, you know, the fact that there's two away games after this evening, I think sometimes Scott mentions the low block that teams put on. That becomes even lower at St Andrews. So away from home, you know, the opposition, particularly tonight's in Stevenage, mid-table, they're not going to reach the playoffs. They've got nothing to lose. They can relax and play football. Yes, they don't want to be embarrassed by the best team in the division. But certainly I would imagine that they'll try and play a little bit of football tonight. And that's where, away from home, we've seen really good results and good performances this season.
Absolutely. And that game on Sunday against Mansfield Town, tickets sold out inside 20 minutes for it. Phenomenal support once again from Blues fans. But of course, at the end of it, we're going to be presented with a League One Championship trophy. There will be a trophy lift. And we've spoken all season long. I know, Tommy, on this show, you've constantly referred to the fantastic support that we see from Blues fans, home and away, great travelling contingent as well. What does it mean to everybody around this club?
I think it's you know, I can remember back to my time. I made it very clear. I joined the football club because I played at St Andrews, that's now St Andrews at Knighthead Park, but I played there for Watford. When Birmingham scored, I literally couldn't hear myself speak. I was trying to tell one of the players to be calm that was 5 yards away and ended up winding myself up because I was screaming so loud. The atmosphere is incredible at St Andrews at Knighthead Park. And, you know, these players, to receive their first medal, some of them, you know, those shirts are the ones that will be mounted on their lounge walls because, you know, you keep them together and they become a keepsake when you've retired. But they want to celebrate with the supporters, and the noise and everything we see at the end of every game. It's just a wonderful place to be on the match day now. Yeah,
you look at these pictures. Scott, what is it like playing it in front of sell-out travelling support, sell-out home crowds, and feeling essentially you've got a 12th man on the pitch with you?
Yeah, it's huge. Obviously, you touch on the away support. That's always fantastic. But the most important thing for me is in the home games. You know, we touched on the low block, and as players, we also need to try and stay patient throughout the game. But I think you can really see this season the unity between the fans and the team. You know, the fans are staying patient as well with us. They know how we were trying to play a possession-based football, and we're not going to get those chances sometimes until the 75th, 90th minute. My first game at Wigan, that's one thing I knew straight away after the game was how patient the fans were us.
But that makes it easier
and they
as
kept
a player,
willing us
doesn't
on.
it?
Absolutely. You know, there wasn't any lumps or groans. It was the sake of corner, right? Come on, they're with us here, and then you know we scored last minute. I think
do you feed off each other in that sense?
Absolutely, and I think, you know, as you say, you've came as a visiting player as well. I think it gets on top of them and it lifts us up, and it almost sucks the ball into the goal near the end. And I think that's why we've scored so many late goals this season, through the patience of the fans.
Now, that is going to be the first of 2 trophies that we're hoping to see at Blues this season. The second, we already know about the men's, but what about the women? Well, they're going for the second promotion because they know win their final 2 games of the season and they will be promoted back to the WSL. They came back from 1 down to beat Durham this past weekend, winning by 3-1. Everybody at this club is invested in the women's team as well. How aware are you and the guys in the dressing room?
Yeah, obviously we keep a keen eye on it as well. We know how well they've been doing this season. And I think it's important everybody can see the way that the club's going, and the men and the female team. And it's huge for them if they could get promoted.
Now, their final 2 games of the season are against Newcastle, and then they finish at home to London City in what we hope is going to be a winner-takes-all clash for promotion to WSL. We spoke to head coach Amy Merricks a little earlier, and she's adamant she knows her team have got the characters to get the job done.
Every game's been a fight. It's a challenging league and a very competitive league. I think we can see that by the results week in, week out. So really pleased in those games that we had to grind out the results. And I think those games really reflect where the team has come together. Togetherness is key in any league you play in, but like I said, this is a challenging league, and we knew we were going to have to fight in every game this season, and that doesn't change. But I think the potential in this group is huge. I think we've scratched the surface, and I think the fact that we can say that shows where we're going and where we have the potential to go. So now, like I said, we are not done yet. It's a big push.
Now, the men's team aside, there's still plenty to come between now and the end of the season, starting with those fixtures for our women's team. Both matches can be seen live on the FA Player between now and the end of the season, and we ask every single Blues fan who can to come to St Andrews at Knightshead Park to support the women on Sunday, May the 4th. As I've just said, we hope it will be a title and promotion decider against London City, with the winner heading up to the women's top flight, dancing once again on the top table of women's football in England, the WSL. Next, we have Blues Fest. What is that, you might ask? I shall tell you right now. It'll take place on Sunday, the 11th of May. It's a great day out for all the family and a chance to see a Blues Legends 11 take on West Bromwich Albion. There'll be lots to do, something to keep everyone entertained. All money raised from the event will go on to support the incredible work done by the BCFC Foundation. And from there, we have the end of season player awards. Scott, I'll get your thoughts on this very shortly. Last few places available for our awards night for the end of season player awards. That takes place on Sunday, May the 4th at ICC Birmingham. It is your chance to celebrate with both men's and women's teams and be the first to know who wins the big prizes on the night. It'll be hosted by Match of the Day presenter Kelly Summers. Now, one of the awards that we presented on the evening is the Goal of the Season award, sponsored by ITSL. Let's take a look at some of the 75 contenders scored so far in League One.
And he plays through Alfie May. That's a great touch by Grimmer, but May is still in here. Offload to Miyoshi. Miyoshi left it, denied by the goalkeeper. Willemsen! 3-1, game over. First 3 points of the season in the bag, and Willemsen smashes home the third.
It's about hanging on in there. While it's 2-1, there is always hope. It might be 3-1 here. What a goal! Talk about commentators' curse. While it's 2-1, there's always hope, and then literally a second later.
Picked back up by Paik Sung-ho. And this is Alfie May, chops in field on the left foot, looks to stand up towards the back post. There was Binners. Iwata on the volley! And what a start! And what a goal! It's another gem from Tomoki Iwata. And with not even 3 minutes on the clock, Blues make the dream start at St Andrews at night. Burst into his own net by Tomoki Iwata. Blues looking for an instant reaction. Jay Stansfield scampering up to the edge of the penalty area, and we have an instant reaction, and it's an absolute gem from Jay.
It's a fabulous strike. Great.
Says no. Leonard takes over proceedings, dribbles towards the byline. The header away by Huddersfield only makes it to the edge of the penalty area. This might set up for Keshi Anderson. Brings it under control. Oh! How about that? Some way to announce your return in style from Keshi Anderson.
He scored a wonderful goal at Huddersfield recently, and Leonard's going to attack this. And the shot. Oh, the goal! Absolutely incredible from Tomoki Iwata.
It can be very, very difficult, but when you break down those doors by getting the early goals, makes it so much easier.
And now Blues are really enjoying it, and Stansfield's been found, and he can link up with Keshi Anderson, and he will leave it for Kieran Dowell, and that is a brilliant third goal. 3 goals for Blues. And 5 minutes before half-time, maybe already. So only reaches Laird in the Blues right back position. Laird's headed forward down the right hand side. It's kept in play by Stansfield. He shows commentary a clean set of heels. And Stansfield shining towards a penalty area. Stansfield!
So there you go, our contenders for Blues goal of the season. Scott will be there. Tommy, will you be there?
I will be there. I've been invited.
Have you really?
I
VIP?
have. I'm not sure about that.
Double check that ticket. Look, how much do these evenings mean? I imagine when you're following a season like Blues are enjoying right now, they're even more special, aren't they, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, it's a testament to the hard work you do all season. Obviously, the most important for us as a collective is to get promotion and win leagues. But then it's always a nice cherry on top to be recognised either by fellow pros or by the fans.
I don't know who put the goal of the season contenders together, but I didn't see one of your three there.
I was hoping to see one of them there, but I mean, it just looked as if it was a Tomoki competition with himself by the looks of it.
There wasn't many of mine there, Scott, either, so don't worry about that.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, you look at all the goals that Jay scored, the different types of goals that were in the contenders there, from the spectacular to the fluid counter-attacks. It's been a season to remember, hasn't it, Tommy?
No, it has. We've had so much possession, so many good goals. There's actually, if I wear my old centre-forwards hat...
Are you disappointed?
Well, Lyndon Dykes' header against Bradford, for me, the movement, the cross. There's so many good goals. I'm sure it's been very, very difficult to narrow it down to that short list. But yeah, we've been thoroughly entertained this season, haven't we? It makes it so much easier for me on commentary. Absolutely,
and without pushing any of your teammates' noses out of joint, which one did you fancy out of those?
I mean, Tomoki's against Newcastle was incredible.
It was some strike, wasn't it?
I actually think Lyndon's against Lincoln in the Cup was unbelievable as well. He takes on his chest.
You were saying when we watched that, you couldn't believe the game was played that.
Yeah, exactly. The way the fog was so low that day, and it was absolutely freezing. With it being an early kick-off, I thought it actually was probably going to get called off, but good for Dykesy that it stayed on because he scored, also could be one of the goals of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favourite yourself, Tommy, aside from Lyndon's?
3 or 4 of those. I don't want to narrow it down and influence anybody, but no, there's 3 or 4 of those where on comms, my mouth was open. Great strikes.
Absolutely. Now, before we move on, I want to draw the attention to the mug that's in front of you on the desk, because social media this evening, Tommy, has been blowing up with where can we get this mug from. So where did you get it from?
You have stitched me up a treat there, Rich, haven't you? I believe it's available at the Superstore at St Andrews at Knighthead Park. However, if it's not, it's Richard's fault.
Yeah, you didn't hear it from us. If it's not available from the Superstore, then nothing to see here. But as far as where it came from, we don't know, but it's very much Tommy Mooney's, and it's not for sale. Is that right?
It's not for sale at the moment, but I haven't had any offers yet.
Everybody's got a price, yeah?
Everything's got a price.
OK, let's take you through both teams then as we look ahead to tonight's game. And we'll start with the hosts, Stevenage. We can see their starting 11 now. I promise you can. Here we go. And if we can't, I can run you through it anyway. They line up with Ashby Hammond in goal. James Wilden is the skipper. Butler, Sweeney, Appere, Roberts, Good, Freestone, White, Reed and Phillips. No Daniel Kemp, Tommy, their top scorer with 10 goals. The fact that he's a top scorer with 10 goals probably highlights where some of their struggles have been today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's been a reasonable season for them, finishing mid-table, but they're going to be a tough challenge. At home they're certainly better than they have been away. So, I'd expect, like I said earlier on, I expect an open game. I don't think that they'll shut down and have that deep block. Certainly in the early stages, we expect that. But as the game opens up, Scott's spoken about the patterns and the shapes that Chris Davies wants his team to play with, and I fully expect them to open Stevenage up.
Yeah, and as we talk about Blues looking to achieve their own landmarks and goals between now and the end of the season, I guess the same applies for Stevenage. As they sit in the table going into tonight, they're 14th. They're only 3 points adrift of Barnsley, who are in 12th. The top half of the table finish would be good for them, Scott.
Yeah, they want to obviously try and just fight for as many points as they can. And it's obviously something we faced a lot of this season. You know, they would want to beat one of the bigger teams in the league to claim a scalp. So, yeah, there's always something to play for. And I think, as you say, they'll be trying to climb the table as high as possible for the end of the season.
Jamie Reid, Tommy, is their second highest scorer with 7 goals. He comes from midfield. Is he somebody that Blues need to watch tonight?
Yeah, he's certainly a threat, gets in and around the edge of the box and into the box as much as he can. But I think, you know, quite often this season, Chris Davies has talked about it's about us and the way that we play. I certainly think that the result tonight will be affected by Birmingham City's performance rather than Stevenage's. So it won't be any different to any away game this season. I always think that the earlier you break the ice and get that first goal, the easier it makes the rest of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. OK, let's take a look once again at Blues starting 11 for this evening. We brought you their lineup and formation a little earlier. A number of changes for Birmingham City going into tonight's game at Lamex Stadium. 6 in total, with Alfie May returning as skipper, Scott.
Yeah, you know, we touched on it before, how fluid the team can be. So the manager's obviously set them up to build on that structure. But throughout the course of the game, you could see people, obviously Alfie likes to kind of drift deeper sometimes to get touches of the ball, and with that then he needs runs in behind. So, you know, that's a real structure to kind of, as a base, as a platform for the team to build on. But you'll see so many different players picking it up in different positions. And
presumably, Tommy, if you're manager Chris Davies, you made wholesale changes for the trip on Bank Holiday Monday on the back of 2 games without a goal. You'll be hoping that that's enough to give some of these players the extra energy and recovery they needed in their legs to now push on for these final 4 games.
Yeah, it's very rare you get to this stage of the season and you get your best performances, because they're tired legs. They've been under a huge amount of stress because of the expectation that surrounds this football club in League One, and the players are no different to the supporters or anybody else. They feel that week in, week out. So, you know, there is going to be tired legs, but they are striving for these points, and that's what makes me think that we will achieve that with these games left, with what, 3 wins out of the 4 games, and you know, you go down in history. How long is it going to be before that record's beaten? So yeah, we've all got our fingers crossed for it, but all excited by the prospect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. OK, let's wet the taste buds then ahead of tonight's encounter. Of course, we've enjoyed success against the same opposition this season, not least in the first league encounter when Blues run out 2-1 winners.
Really roll a little bit. It's first goalmouth action for Blues coming to a riveting halt as Stevenage combined down the right-hand side, and the effort came in from Jamie Reid. It was great combination. Dan Kemp just provided the layoff across this right-hand side for Sampstead, who has had a bright game in his first league start for Blues so far, as Stansfield with a turn ball to Sampstead, who goes down in the penalty area, and that's a penalty to Blues.
Another penalty, second in 2 days, or 2 games should I say.
Yeah, scored at the Tilton on Saturday, scores the Gilmerrick tonight. In clinical fashion again, Kieran Dowell, and it's nothing less than Blues deserve from the opening half an hour. It's been one-way traffic at St Andrews at Knighthead Park, and Kieran Dowell makes no mistake from the spot. Carving open Stevenage at ease. Resultant corner kick, played short to Dowell, who flicks into the penalty area. Alfie May on the turn, through the crowd is blocked. Peck onto the left foot, and fires into the bottom corner. A welcome goal for Peck Sung-ho, and didn't he take it well?
Protection, and again, I don't think they've been given that tonight by this officiating team.
White whips in the free kick for Stevenage. It drops in the penalty area for a white shirt, then hooked towards goal and nestled in the bottom corner. Jake Young off the bench to get Stevenage on the score sheet. And is there one final twist in this tale?
OK, we are very close to kick-off. It's less than 5 minutes away at the Lamex Stadium for Stevenage against Blues this evening. A reminder of the broadcasting regulations going into tonight's game. You can watch the game with us here on Blues Plus in selected overseas territories. Fellas, last thoughts going into this fixture then. 4 games, 12 points on offer, 7 points away from Reading's record, 8 from breaking it. Are we on track, Tommy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm always excited at the prospect of the opening 10-15 minutes, because if we get the opening goal, they have to change their whole game plan. And it certainly allows, as Scott mentioned earlier on, those shapes and patterns. We've got some good footballers on the pitch and some very good ones on the bench. Whatever happens tonight, I fully expect a good performance.
We've heard Chris talk about sticking to the game plan, sticking to the philosophy. Does that apply tonight, or do we play with more freedom?
No, I think we stick to what we've been doing. It's been so successful for us all season. And I think the players will get a real lift as well with the manager being on the sideline to keep them going and keep that energy. And I think, as Tommy said, right from the start, that first 10-15 minutes, if we can get an early goal, then it will completely change the outlook of the game.
OK, thanks very much for your time, fellas. We are ready for kick-off at the Lamex Stadium. Time to go across there. I hand you over to our commentary team. In a moment, you'll hear from Del Moon. But first of all, your match commentator, Matt Delaney.
Thanks, Rich. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Lamex. We're in Hertfordshire tonight, where Blues aren't just chasing points, but chasing history. Only 8 teams in the 21-year existence of the EFL have cracked the century mark across the 72, and a win or a draw tonight will see Blues become the 9th. That should be enough motivation, but there's more. Records are wobbling. Wolves, Reading watching with trepidation as Blues pull further away at the summit. To do that, we need to